Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This week's music theory topic is the 12-bar song form. We will break it into two lessons. We'll have the most basic 12-bar form in the very first lesson. Coincidentally, that's the one written behind me. We'll cover that, and then we'll do the following week, we'll have a more harmonically advanced version of the 12-bar blues. Basically, more chords in the 12-bar blues. So, we're going to play it, we're going to dissect it, do all that good stuff, have a good time with it. But before we do any of that, let's just take a moment and get the chores out of the way. Let's take a moment, let's subscribe if you haven't already done so. Comment, like, all that good stuff. It helps the channel grow and makes it so we can do more of these cool videos like this. So I'll give you just a moment. Alright, you ready? Let's dive into that 12-bar song form. Here we go. What you just heard is the 12-bar form in its most basic structure. It's very simple, only 3 chords, not very harmonically complex. Like I said, it's very 3 chords, it repeats over and over again. It's actually exactly what I have written down behind me, and we'll kind of talk about it. It just starts, it's based off a 1-4-5 chord of any particular key, meaning the 1st, 4th, and 5th note of any major scale, and that's how you get your chords. We talked about that in our chord harmonization lesson. Refer back to that if you have any confusion on this. But it goes, first 4 measures are just the 1 chord. Next 2 measures, 4 chord. Next 2, 1 chord. 5 chord, 1 measure, 4 chord, 1 measure, 1 chord, 2 measures. And then you've done 12 measures, as the name indicates. It's 12 measures repeated over and over again in that exact same format. If you listen to it when I was jamming, you could hear it repeat over and over again. If you listen to any style that has this, it repeats over and over again. Not a lot of change. It's some people find it boring because it's very repetitive, but it's nice because almost all musicians know this, or the good ones know it, or you should know it, and it allows you, if you just sit down with somebody, never met them before, you hear they play, you hear they know how to jam. Well, if you say, let's sit down, let's play a 12-bar form, or a 12-bar blues or something, and you start, well, it's going to sound like you've played together for years, because you're going to know what's coming next, because it follows this exact format. You're going to have the 1 chord for 4 measures, 4 chord, 2 measures, 1 chord, 2 measures, 5 for 1 measure, 4 for 1 measure, and 1 chord for 2 measures, and then back. So it sounds like you know what you both know the song. You know what you're doing. That being said, it's great for a warm-up too, but that being said, there is occasional differences, and you all kind of want to be aware of this when you start. But on occasion, and this is the most basic raw form, you'll have 1, 4, 1, 1 for your first 4 measures. Second measure is different. Or in the last 4 measures, it'll go 5, 4, 1, 5. Okay? So there's a little bit of change there. So the change would be in the 2nd and 12th measure. If I played for you and demonstrated, if I just did the first 4 measures. Well, now if I went and I changed it to the 2nd measure being the 4 chord. Sounds kind of familiar because that's common too. I just have, like I said, the most basic version up there. Now in the last 4 measures. So I'll do it the way it's written first. Well, now if I add in the 5 chord at the very end. Sound kind of familiar again because that's common as well. Like I said, I just had the most basic raw form up here, and either way is very simple. It's still the 1, 4, 5 chords. It's not changing chords up. It's just how they repeat is slightly different, but only in the 2nd and 12th measure. Okay, so like I said, because this is the most basic form we have. This is not just for blues music. That's a common misconception I've noticed, is that, oh, you play a 12-bar form, it's a blues. Not really. I've even done it like in a funk setting, country setting, rock, obviously. Early Black Sabbath has a 12-bar form on, I think, the first 2 albums. They kind of stick to stuff like that. But is it blues or is it hard metal? I don't know. But let me demonstrate. So as long as it repeats the same, it is still in the 12-bar form, even if it's not a blues. So So you see, I made it sound funky, and it was still repeating the same way. You got your 1 chord for 4 measures at the very beginning, and so on. And I made it sound funky, but I was still sticking to that same pattern. So that again kind of solidifies how great this is to know this, because it allows you to sit down in any style, and as long as they know this format, you could jam with them. Okay, so we could do it, like I said, in a country, almost like a Johnny Cash. As you can see, again, I stuck to the same format. It's a little different. Kind of has a 2 feel. Yeah, or maybe not, but yeah. So it's a country feel that kind of, maybe I said it wrong. It's more of that. It's a different train sound. Let's say it like that, without going into too much detail. I heard a great story once that it's like the difference between a train in Detroit and a train in Nashville. There's not really a difference. It's like the sound of the rhythm. But anyways, so the chord progressions, like I said, doesn't change, but like in most songs, there'll be a bridge, there'll be a chorus, there'll be something, something that happens that will change it up a little bit. Well, this doesn't change. There might be some stops here and there to make it interesting, some pauses, some build back up, things like that. But it doesn't really break the 12-bar form. It doesn't break the 12-bar form, I should say, unless it's doing something completely out of this world. In this world is the 12-bar form. But anyways, yeah, it doesn't really change to that. Improvisation is huge to make this interesting. B.B. King said it best, is that you have to be a good chef in order to make this interesting. It's a simple form. You gotta use the right ingredients and do this, mix this up in a nice way to make this interesting. Because generally, in its most raw form, it's minor pentatonic or blues scales. More harmonically advanced you get, you can throw modes in there, you can throw major scales in there, but that's getting into more of the other form we're going to look at for the 12-bar form. So improvisation is huge. There's various ways you can go about this. You can just play an entire solo, play a nice one, and it starts out kind of slow, builds up throughout the 12-bar form, or you can go fast throughout. Whatever you want, there's various ways to go about this. One of the big things is, especially in this form, but in all improvisation settings, is what we call and response, where maybe a vocal sings something and you respond to it on guitar or saxophone or whatever you're playing, or another instrumentalist plays something and you respond, and then they do something and you respond. And back and forth, so on until you either rejoin together or they finish their solo or whatever, or the vocals continue on. But like I said, improvisation is huge in this style, of playing, because it would be nothing. It would just be, we have 10 minutes of the 12-bar form, 12 measures repeated over and over and over again. So yeah, as you can see, it's big. The last four measures, last but not least on my list, the last four measures, the 5, 4, 1, 1 in this case, I put a star next to it because this is what we have that brings it all together, really, is if you're the listener and you're just hearing the same thing over and over again, you're probably going to get lost. If you're the musician, you could very well get lost. Well, this is what we call a turnaround. The turnaround actually signals it back to the very beginning, and it really helps the listener. And me as a musician, it definitely helps as well. And I would be right back to the beginning, but it has that turnaround. So yeah, it allows it to bring it all home. Even in the more harmonically complex setting, there's a turnaround, the last four measures. But like I said, this is the most raw structure of this. It's very basic, based off of 1-4-5. Improvisation is huge. Don't be afraid to play this in any setting as long as you stick to the chords repeating the same, and it's 12 measures long. So have fun on your most raw 12 bar form.